Hey, welcome everyone to the Story Trading Weekly Meetup. We got a nice agenda for you tonight, but first, Story Trading is not an investment advisor. Investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. This event is being recorded. It'll be provided immediately after the session's over to our paid VIP members, and will be posted up on social media later this week at the close of the week on Friday. So our agenda for tonight, first, I'm going to give you an update on Dario because I had a conversation with a colleague on going over Q1 results. So got a few clarifications on some things. Then we'll do a macro update. Is this a bear market rally that's coming up that we're having right now between the end of the day Friday and futures? Or is the bottom possibly in? We'll talk about that. Then I'll do a quick MonkeyPox review. And by the way, Vince is going to be joining us with that macro update, and he may have some MonkeyPox thoughts also. And then we'll get into an open discussion and Q&A. We'll probably pause at the in between, at the end of each section here, and pause the recording so we can have a little open Q&A in between. All right, great conversation on the macro with Vince, and I want to move on to MonkeyPox and give you my very high level view of this. Is MonkeyPox a concern? So, those of you who may know, I have a doctor of pharmacy degree, so I think, even though I'm not actively in that industry anymore, I keep my license active, and I think I'm able to digest data and get a high-level interpretation that's pretty good. So I went and looked at the Wikipedia of MonkeyPox to get a big overview. And what really did jump out was the amount of cases and how widespread the cases are currently happening is certainly in a much higher concentration than it's ever been in the past. So just from that high level, it is a possible cause for concern. And that's probably what the WHO saw, just statistically. Just look at the numbers. So the WHO is like, let's have a meeting, right? So far, so good. I get that. And I'm on board with that. So there's some concern. The key, though, if you review how monkeypox spreads, it's not supposed to be. It hasn't historically been a very contagious disease. It's not contagious, or it's not supposed to be during the incubation period. Generally requires skin-to-skin contact, although it's possible, very, very close contact. It can be big, droplets that could cause it, but historically, it's very hard to transmit. So the key to this being either, is this a real thing or a false alarm? To me, is, do we have a different strain, right? Which I think we might. I'm not sure. Because I was reading one of the articles and it said this strain, but right, it didn't give details about what they meant by this strain, and was it tested genetically? How is it different? I haven't looked for it necessarily, but also it hasn't popped out in any headlines, right? But if there is a strain and it comes out, hey, this is monkeypox, 2BAC or whatever, or like COVID-19, this is monkeypox, MP22 or something, right? New strain. And this strain, right, is more transmissible. It doesn't need as much skin-to-skin contact, or it can be transmitted during the incubation period when there are no symptoms, then that would be something to be alarmed about. I was not jumping on this. I know Vince did great with SIGA, SIGA. I just ignored the headline because, quite frankly, because I have COVID fatigue. But also, like the COVID crash where I was heavily short before it really hit our shores, there was already substantial evidence out there that this was different, right? That the main reason I was so negative about COVID impacting our economy was because of what China was doing superficially with closing the streets and fumigating the streets and locking people into their apartments. When I saw those visuals, I'm like, China wouldn't be doing this unless this really were a different strain that's really more dangerous. And I'm like, there's no way you can contain a virus like that. No matter how much you fumigate, no matter how much you nail people's doors down, this thing is coming to the United States, just because of my high level understanding of medicine and biology. So that's why I was short then with very high conviction. At this point, it was very highly, early and speculative. And I think traders were jumping on it because of the big gains of COVID. All right. They're like, oh, this could be, something huge again. So that's why I didn't jump into it, and I kind of dismissed it very, very early in terms of data. But let's counterbalance that with this piece of news. The United States did buy 13 million doses of vaccine. Maybe it's not early. Maybe they know something, right? That's a little bit alarming. And the news has been getting worse over the weekend. EU Health Agency urges member states to plan for monkeypox jabs. We see a case now in Florida. I think there was a case in Israel. This is unusual. If you look at the history of monkeypox spread, it doesn't happen like this all over the place. I spelled monkeypox wrong there, but is it possible it's just from maybe one kind of super spreader event? You know, I've been hearing something about that, at least I think in Spain, where a bunch of the initial cases were that they took it back to like one event somewhere. Is that possible what we have? I hope it's possible that that's what we have, but it is kind of odd and concerning that we're seeing this concentration of cases, this number of cases spread around all different parts of the world, right? Florida, I mentioned, that was the latest one I saw in the Drudge Report. The other thing is in terms of sentiment, like them or hate them, I know that people may have different political opinions on Drudge, and they've changed over the years, by the way. They used to be very right-wing, and now they're more center/left. But Drudge actually plays a huge role in setting the tone for media coverage. A lot of articles, a lot of media companies get their cues from Drudge in terms of what the top news story should be. And they, in that sense, they really influence sentiment. So if you look at the homepage of Drudge, it's pretty alarming. There's nothing there on Saturday, nothing there on Friday. Today, the whole thing is monkeypox everywhere. And apparently Biden made a statement that monkeypox is something to be concerned about. So is that a concern? Again, my view is biologically, it could be a concern, but you got to watch for that data in terms of, is this a different strain that's more transmissible? In terms of sentiment, yeah, it's impacting at least the smallpox vaccine stocks. By the way, smallpox vaccine works against monkeypox. I don't know for how long. I have the smallpox vaccine. I got it when I was like 3 years old or something like that, or 2 years old, maybe at birth. I don't know exactly when I got it. I got it at a very young age in Iran. So hopefully I'm protected. But yeah, all of the companies out there that make smallpox vaccines, and monkeypox has been growing a little bit over the last several years, right? So there's been some companies focused on it. So that whole sector did great, SIGA being the standout. So great job by Vince. Is it going to impact the market? That sentiment of, oh, are we going to have additional lockdowns? I think one of the headlines on Drudge is one of the countries out there, I forgot which one, Belgium maybe, wants to do some sort of lockdown because of monkeypox. So could this derail a bear market rally? Maybe, I don't know. So Vince, why don't I throw it to you, since you were totally on top of this and you were nailing SIGA. What are your thoughts in terms of monkeypox maybe impacting the market sentiment, and also in terms of specific monkeypox plays at SIGA at all? Is there still an opportunity there?
I guess I think it's gonna be completely news driven. If we don't see any more news on monkeypox, then some of these stocks that have gone up exponentially or has gone up so much will probably retreat back. So I just don't see it as a. We'll have to look at the cases and we'll have to look at the numbers and we'll have to keep an eye on that. But if the news kind of fades, well, the stocks will react sooner than the news. So there's a bunch of them. I think you put it on VIP. There's TNXP. There's a bunch. Mm-hmm. So I would look at those and see how they react. But I think it's 50-50. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how SIGA. I personally think SIGA will probably gap up, and I may be using that a little bit to sell more. But I don't know. I just, monkeypox has been around for a long time, and if you look at the details, it says most of the cases are very, nothing. They're just very mild. So those pictures that they throw in the media about skin bubbling, I think it's just more to scare people. I think it's more scare tactic. So I'm not really buying into it. I saw monkeypox all over. I heard about it a little bit on Thursday when I woke up on Friday. Like half my Twitter feed was all people talking about monkeypox. So all I did is just search monkeypox, and I saw SIGA come up, and I saw others, but I just liked the chart on SIGA, and I said, "Man, this." And and I did see the fact that it was FDA approval. To me, that was like sentiment. You got some basic fundamental news that they do have a vaccine, so might as well give it a shot. And did I think it was going to go crazy? No, I sold half of it a point and a half higher, and then I sold more at 11. I didn't think it was going to go nuts, but I still have some. But we'll see. I don't buy into it. I really don't.
I hope you're right. I will say I remember from COVID, the peak in a lot of the COVID stocks was after a weekend. It was a Monday morning, right after it became apparent that this was really in the States. I forgot exactly the trigger, but it was, my point is, it was very early on, right? It was very early on in the news cycle, and it was a Monday morning between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. Man, I had a COVID watch list. I wish I still had a screenshot of it. I was looking for it a few months ago, but somewhere along the line it got deleted. But this COVID watch list, like every stock that was a COVID stock was up like 100 to 200% in the 4 to 7 a.m. session. It was crazy. And that was the peak. And it started coming down at 7 a.m. Man, I think there's a possibility you could see that in the monkeypox stocks tomorrow morning in the 4 to 7 a.m. session. And, you might see SIGA up like 90% or something. And if that's the case, if I had the stock, I'd be selling at 7:01 a.m. honestly, 7 a.m. sharp.
Correct. That's what I plan to do.
Yeah. So good. I hope that works out for you. Amazing.
Thanks.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
All right. So with that, we're going to hang on just a little bit for our VIPs in just a second in case there's any other questions on any of these topics. But for those watching the replay on social media, make sure to follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at StoryTrading. We're also on Spotify. You can find our Spotify channel at StoryTrading.com. We have a link to it over there. So thank you everyone for joining us. VIPs, stick around in case you have any questions.